school year is now just 2 weeks away. It's a good reminder for parents to make sure their kids are up to date on vaccines. We're joined now by Dr. Carolyn Jacobs from Rochester General Health this morning, explaining what vaccines your kids need and why. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, this is, you know, one of those times where parents are thinking about, I got the pencils, I got the crayons, I got, you know, my graphing calculator for my child.
Thinking about that backpack, packed, ready to go.
But we also need to think about our health and our children's health. What do they need to know?
So what's key is that New York State and every other state actually has mandates as to which vaccines are needed to enter school. And so for kindergarten, there are specific vaccines that are needed. And then now, as kids are getting ready for middle school and junior high school, they need specific vaccines. And what's wonderful is that New York State has the website, but all schools have been sending out letters to families stating these are the shots that you need in order to enroll on the first day.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them. And it can be hard to remember, okay, which one do we need now?
It's a checklist, right? And then you think, which one did I get? It can get easy to forget.
Very true, very true. So it's fortunate most people will have their own copies of their immunizations. If not, they always can come into the practice where their provider is and get those copies, and then we can get them up to date so that they can be set to go to school.
Yeah.
How does this help through the year? You know, what's the key thing for parents? Do not put this off.
Right. So the key thing about immunizations or vaccinations, as some people call them, is that it's a preventative measure. And also it's a public health protection. So in schools, we have kids who are exposed to so many other students. And there are times when you don't know who's going to be sick that week. And if they're sick, they may have already exposed some of their classmates. So we worry about communicable diseases that can be spread to other kids. And with vaccinations, we possibly could have prevented all of those conditions.
What about older kids, the college students, because they still need to have some immunizations as well? What is something that they need to get before they head off to college?
Sure. So for heading off to college, they really should get a meningitis B vaccine, excuse me. And that vaccine helps to protect against meningitis, which is inflammation of the tissues that surround the brain and the spinal cord. And at times, unfortunately, it can be fatal.
Why is that the one that they need to get, you know, going off to college as opposed to getting it in high school? Is it because of the closed quarters, I imagine?
So that's a great question. There's actually two types of meningitis vaccines, and there's one type that is required for our middle school and high school students. And then there's a different meningitis one that is responsible for our kids who are going to college. So it's essential. Again, it's those close quarters where there's a densely populated area. And that's where we see the most in middle schools and high schools.
And such a variety of different environments. We're talking immunizations for kids, the younger ones, all the way up to college students. It's really about thinking about your environment that we don't always consider the germs we're exposed to. And immunizations, vaccinations, gets you through.
Yes, it does.
Any reminders or tips for parents, you know, maybe to get this done throughout the school year so they're not bombarded with all of this at once at the last minute as they're heading back to school? What's a great way to remember some of the checklist items?
I think one thing that families can do is get routine appointments scheduled, and at those appointments we can remind people as to what it is that they need to go ahead and start the school year, and also to prepare earlier. So just as the school year ends, that's an ideal time to reach out to your doctor's office or your nurse practitioner's office and ask, what do we need? And also, by that time, you'll be getting the letter from the school nurse. So if you plan ahead, that makes it a little bit easier, so it's not that crunch as it is 2 weeks prior to school starting.
And it's tough to get into some doctor's appointments at the last minute because a lot of people are busy getting those physicals too for sports and athletes. So that's a good tip going at the end of the school year. You mentioned there was a website where the state lists all of these. What is that website so parents can go to?
It's New York State Department of Education, and on that site they will tell you all the requirements that kids need for going back to school.
Thank you so much. This really helps, you know, when school ends, make sure you connect with your doctor, your health consultant, and then when school starts up, like you said, you're here to help parents not wait to the last minute.
Exactly.
All right, Dr. Carolyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And I know you've got children as well, so best of luck to you getting back to school, getting back in a routine.
Thank you.
All right.